This wasn't just a wrestling storyline. This was something far more uncomfortable. A family breaking apart in front of millions of people. What started as legacy, what started as pride, slowly turned into something else, something darker. A system where love became loyalty, loyalty became obedience, and obedience became control. And at the center of it all was one man. A man who didn't just want to lead his family, he wanted to be above them. Because Roman Reigns didn't just become the tribal chief, he became the reason his own family started falling apart. And the most dangerous part, they didn't see it at first. They believed in him, they trusted him, they followed him, until it was too late. For years, WWE tried to create the perfect superstar, and that superstar was Roman Reigns. He had the look, the presence, the legacy, everything you would expect from the face of a global company. But something didn't connect, no matter how many main events wanted him to be. And over time, that rejection became louder, more personal, because fans weren't rejecting Roman the wrestler. They were rejecting the version of Roman they were being forced to believe in. And eventually, even Roman understood that. So in 2020, he stopped trying to be what WWE wanted. And for the first time, he became who he really was. When Roman Reigns returned at SummerSlam 2020, something felt different immediately. There was no excitement in his expression, no connection with the audience, no attempt to win people back, just silence. And then, violence. He attacked Braun Strowman. He attacked The Fiend, relentlessly, without hesitation, without emotion. And in that moment, everything changed. Because this wasn't the hero returning to save the company. This was someone taking control of it. Roman wasn't asking for his spot anymore. He was taking it. And then came the moment that confirmed it. Paul Heyman. For years, Heyman stood beside Brock Lesnar. The most wasn't just changing his character, he was redefining it completely. At first, it seemed like a simple story. Roman Reigns versus Jey Uso. Cousin versus cousin. An underdog fighting for the biggest opportunity of his life. But what unfolded was something far more disturbing. Because Roman didn't treat Jey like an opponent. He treated him like someone who needed to be corrected. Inside Hell in a Cell, the match slowed down. Every movement, deliberate. Every strike, meaningful. Roman wasn't trying to win quickly. He was trying to prove something. He wanted Jey to say it. I acknowledge you, not as champion, but as leader. And when Jey refused, Roman didn't stop. He kept going, over and over again, until it wasn't about wrestling anymore. It was about submission, about control. And in the end, Jey didn't quit. His brother did it for him. And that moment changed everything. Because Roman didn't just win the match, he broke Jey Uso in front of the world.
Bloodline. Acknowledge me!
After that night, something shifted. Jey wasn't the same. He didn't fight back anymore. He followed, not out of respect, but out of pressure, out of obligation. Roman began calling him Main Event Jey Uso, but it wasn't a compliment. It was a reminder of who was in control. Then Jimmy Uso returned, and for a brief moment, it felt like things might change. Jimmy questioned Roman, challenged him, refused to accept the new dynamic. But Roman didn't react with anger. He responded with manipulation. He made Jimmy feel responsible for the family, for the legacy, for everything. And slowly, Jimmy gave in too. And just like that, the Bloodline was formed, not as a group of equals, but as a system of control. But here's the truth most people don't fully understand. What you see on WWE television is only part of the story, because the real Bloodline is far more complex. If I told you that Roman Reigns and the Usos aren't actually brothers in real life, it changes everything. Because in reality, Roman is closer to being their uncle. And that's where this story becomes bigger than WWE. Because this family doesn't start in 2020. It doesn't even start in WWE. It goes back over a century to 1914. At the very top of this family tree is Peter Maivia, the man who brought wrestling into this family. Before him, there was no wrestling legacy. He created it, and from there, it expanded. Afa, Sika, the Wild Samoans, dominant forces in their era, carrying the legacy forward. Then came a moment that would change everything: an adoption. Peter Maivia's wife had a daughter named Ata. She later married Rocky Johnson. And from that union came one of the biggest names in history, The Rock. And here's the truth. If that adoption never happened, then forever. This entire identity comes from American Samoa, a culture built on hierarchy, respect, and leadership. That's why Roman Reigns' tribal chief character feels so real. Because it isn't just fiction. It's rooted in culture, in legacy, in history. Moving forward, we reach the third generation: Yokozuna, Rikishi, Umaga, and Roman Reigns himself, son of Sika, a direct extension of everything that came before. His brother Rosie was also part of that legacy, and his loss reminds us that this story is more than entertainment. Then comes the modern era: Jimmy, Jay, Solo Sikoa, the fourth generation, continuing the legacy while also dealing with its weight. But here's something many people misunderstand. Not every Samoan wrestler is part of this family. For example, Samoa Joe, he is Samoan, but not part of the Anoa'i lineage. And WWE doesn't always make that clear, just like they don't acknowledge every member of the family, especially if they're not signed to the company. And finally, coming back to the original point, why is Roman more like an uncle to the Usos? Because Roman's father and their grandfather are brothers. That places Roman one generation above them. And if WWE ever fully embraced that dynamic, this story becomes even more powerful. With the bloodline behind him, Roman became unstoppable. For over 1,000 days, he ruled WWE. Every challenger, every storyline, every major moment led back to him. He didn't just win matches, he controlled outcomes. WWE didn't revolve around Roman. Roman became WWE. Then came Sami Zayn. At first, he didn't belong. He was awkward, trying too hard. But over time, he became something unexpected. The heart of the group. The one person who brought humanity into the bloodline. And that's what made him dangerous. Royal Rumble. Roman demands loyalty. Sami hesitates. The tension builds until the chair shot, and in that moment, everything changes. Sami didn't betray the bloodline, he exposed it. After that, the cracks spread. Jimmy turns. Jay walks away. The family begins to collapse. This was no longer about power. This was about freedom. Roman stands alone. The empire still exists, but the family doesn't. He didn't lose everything at once. He lost it piece by piece. The bloodline wasn't just a storyline. It was a story about power, about control, about family, and what happens when those things collide. Because in the end, Roman Reigns built an empire, but he built it on fear, and fear never lasts. After everything, after the betrayals, after losing his family, Roman Reigns walked into WrestleMania alone. No bloodline, no backup, no control over anyone else. For the first time in years, it was just him. Across the ring stood a man who represented the complete opposite, CM Punk. A man who rejected the system, who walked away from power, who never needed control to define himself. This wasn't just a match. This was everything the bloodline stood for, being challenged in one night. Roman didn't dominate like before. He struggled, he hesitated, because for the first time, there was no one to save him. No Usos, no Solo, no interference, just pressure, just expectation. But something changed. Not the tribal chief, not the manipulator. Something deeper. For the first time, Roman Reigns had to prove he could win, without control, without fear, without the bloodline. And in the end, Roman Reigns won. Not because someone helped him, not because he controlled the outcome, but because he adapted. This victory wasn't about dominance, it was about survival. Because Roman Reigns didn't just defeat CM Punk, he proved something to himself, that even without the Empire, he was still the center of everything. The bloodline may have fallen, the family may have broken, but Roman Reigns, he never truly lost control. He just changed what control meant. Because in the end, Roman Reigns didn't need the bloodline anymore. And that might be the most dangerous version of him yet.